Have y'all noticed Candace Owens has jumped ship? Now all of a sudden she's opposing everything Trump is doing. And what's her disdain with Elon Musk and RFK Jr.? She claiming that free speech is being censored to those who are protesting Israel and this and that. But Candy girl, you was all over this internet talking about the lady from France doing dissertations and explanations on what she identify as. Now you're just a Christian and you don't like the censorship that's going on, but you talk about anybody and everybody across this internet. I think that if we are cowards about these topics that really matter, because at the heart of the Macron thing, no one would care about him marrying a tranny. There's an entire pedophile nebula that's around him. And we go through that. People who have worked for him that just keep getting arrested for child pedophilia, it's insane. There's way too many people. It's like, how many of your homies can be pedophiles before it gets weird? And we go through every Elysee Palace scandal regarding pedophilia that's happened since he's been in office. Something's not right there.
It's on its surface it's absolutely terrible. But then when you go even a layer deeper, when there's a whole mechanism protecting these people who are all actively involved in it, in Hollywood, in Washington, D.C., funneling. I mean, again, not to go back to it, but it's all part of this operation with these elites who, when you have these children, for instance, in Guatemala, 197,000 Guatemalan children that were funneled into the United States and were then funneled to be used in the sex trade in the United States. The United States is the largest purveyor of child sex trafficking in the world. When Trump was asked, where are these children, these 300, 400,000 children, and Trump said, I think they're dead. Trump was honest about it. They are. They're used and abused and thrown away. And so when you have people like Brigitte Macron who are like groomers of children, it makes sense that they would be protected.
It does.
And these elite circles. It's incredible.
It amazes me how people's hatred for Candace Owens will prevent them from speaking the truth, but also will prevent them from using basic logic. Reducing Candace Owens' research project to a gossip series about a transgender person is so misleading, but also dangerous because it's a distraction from the bigger picture and what she's truly talking about, which is seeking justice in France, because there is a lack of that. Hate her or love her, but the moment you start restricting someone's freedom of speech simply because you dislike them is the moment your right to freedom of speech gets threatened. Because the whole point of freedom of speech is that anybody and everybody's right to speak is protected. Now, let's put aside the theories that Brigitte Macron is a man, okay? And let's talk about what we actually do know. Brigitte and Emmanuel have met in a very disgusting way. Emmanuel was the student and Brigitte was the teacher. Brigitte was 39 years old and Emmanuel was 15 years old. Some people say he was 14. Now, the age of consent in France is 18 years old when it comes to a teacher and a student relationship, which Emmanuel and Brigitte were in. Now, the age of consent in France is 15 years old, but again, Brigitte and Emmanuel were in a teacher-student relationship, so that completely changes the age of consent. Candace Owens isn't only just speaking about the Macron's family and their dark history, but she's also bringing to light about their disgusting artistic choices. For example, their praise for Andrew Gide, which we're gonna listen to and Candace Owens talk about, but also about their family/friend group that is very much disgusting and very much needs to be talked about. Now, we talk about Andrew Tate, we talk about Jeffrey Epstein, we talk about Harvey Weinstein, we talk about R. Kelly, Diddy, Jay-Z, Chris Brown. But where's the outrage for France? Or is the outrage for Candace Owens more important than what is going on in France and the disgusting injustices that is happening?
Right, this age-defying love, perhaps, as we now know, an early nod to the written works of Macron's favorite author, André Gide, who, as we mentioned in a previous episode, was a self-admitted pederast, raped Muslim boys, and he wrote about this openly. And despite this, he would wind up, or at least his book would wind up, in Emmanuel Macron's first presidential portrait. Incredibly creepy. Now,
Now, in case you're thinking rationally, let's play both sides of this thing, right? Maybe Emmanuel Macron didn't know that the book was there. Maybe it was just some dumb assistant who grabbed it. Who knows why it would be in their like Oval Office? But maybe it was just some assistant who grabbed it and put it there. Nope. You'd be wrong if you're thinking that, so stop thinking that, okay? Emmanuel Macron has never hidden his affection for Andre Gide. He has spoken about it multiple times, okay? He even once gave an interview to a literary critic, Jerome Garcin, and Macron said this. He said, and I quote, Gide shows me the path that leads from the cerebral to overflowing sensuality. Okay. Now, you see, there was just one journalist that I could find that had the courage to aggressively call out the book choice of the president in his portrait, and that journalist's name is Helene Devic, okay? Here's what she said. I'm going to pull up her quotation here. What message did the young and dashing president of the French Republic send with this photo posted on the walls now of school town halls? What should we understand? That pedo criminals can rest easy? Fantastic questions, Helene. What should we understand from the fact that Andre Gide is still taught, by the way, in American classrooms, and that he was awarded a post-mortem Nobel Prize in Literature? I guess we should just understand oopsie, right? Oopsie again for the Macron couple. This just keeps happening. Then there is the case of Olivier Duhamel, who is a former French member of the European Parliament, unbelievable power broker, tippity top, doesn't get much higher than this. He's at the tippity top of French circle of elitists and one of the first to get behind Emmanuel Macron. When you read stories about him, he's like so powerful that at these elite clubs where you're required to wear a tie, he's the guy that can walk inside and doesn't have to pay attention to the dress code, okay? So he got behind Emmanuel Macron right away, attended several campaign meetings, and would be passing notes to Macron. And when Macron qualified for the second round of the presidential election, he celebrated next to Macron at a restaurant called La Rotonde. After Emmanuel Macron won, he used his magazine, which is called Pouvoirs, to compare Emmanuel Macron to General Charles de Gaulle. So again, this magazine is owned by Olivier Duhamel. He was just doing the press and the propaganda on how amazing Emmanuel Macron was. So I have to imagine that for Emmanuel Macron, it really came as another oopsie for the couple when in January of 2021, Olivier Duhamel's stepdaughter, a woman named Camille Coucher, published a book and publicly accused him of having sexually abused her twin brother, Antoine Kushner, when he was 13 or 14 years old. Le Monde, again, that's the equivalent to the French New York Times, were the ones who broke the story. She's not telling the truth, right? Maybe she just made it all up for attention because this is a powerful guy. Oh, lucky for Olivier Duhamel, the statute of limitations had already expired, so he was never brought to justice, but in mid-April of that same year, it was reported in the French media, and you can fact-check this on Wikipedia, that he admitted to it. He admitted that he sexually abused his stepson. That's the kind of stuff that Claude Levesque likes to put into his work and into his books. Allusions to pedophilia. So you guys are going to be a little bit shocked right now to learn that Brigitte Macron eventually had to remove his carpet from the office. You see, there's a picture of Macron sitting on top of his carpet, and they had to remove it in 2021 because the attraction to his artwork became a little bit embarrassing when multiple legal procedures began against Claude Levesque for statutory rape. That came to light in 2021. And ironically, in 2023, the artist Claude Levesque was indicted for the rape of minors when two brothers from that little town in Nievre said that they were sexually assaulted when they were teenagers from him. But no doubt, guys, that's just another oopsie. It's probably just an oopsie from Brigitte and Emmanuel Macron, who knew that the artist who kept putting pedophilic stuff in his artwork was actually going to be charged for the rape of a minor, right?
Now, I am giving you not even the surface of what it is that I know about this couple, okay? This literally is an introduction because everything that I am saying, I know the English world has never heard, which should make you go, what the hell is wrong with our media? What the hell is wrong with our media that when I began to try to report on this story, they came for me. They started painting me as Adolf Hitler. They started canceling me, demands for me to get fired. I was fired. It was in March that I first reported of last year on the story, and it was in March that same exact year that I got fired from my former employer. and nonstop have been fighting the press since. And Guy, by the way, you should know that there is this strange case of what happens to every journalist who tries to touch this story. First and foremost, Isabella Ferreira, I think I mentioned this on a past episode,